Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the ethereal items and we're going to be unidentifying over 100 plus of these ethereal items to kind of see what's the ratio to actually get a good one. Now, if you guys don't know what ethereals are, to briefly sum it up, they're going to be the new best in slot weapons for the newest season, season 24, and we're on the PTR to go ahead and test all of this out. So basically they're going to have a huge amount of plus bonus to damage. Normally you get like plus 10 as a maximum roll, but you can get plus up to 100 with it, and then you get a massive amount of like bonus stats to your character that you normally wouldn't have gotten. Like for example, in the Bariza, we have plus 150 to all Demon Hunter skills, and with the Wind Force, we have plus 200% damage to all archery skills. But we're here to kind of see how many is it going to take to get a good one. Now, not only do we have to get those to roll well to get a good one, but on top of that, we also have to get the correct legendary power. The passive that you do get with these is kind of small, but it can matter for some builds to get an additional passive. But the main thing that we're looking for is a good legendary power on top of good rolls on the actual weapon. So that's why we've got a bunch of them to go ahead and show off. So to sum it up right here, we have one Wind Force that has a 3.7 like sheet damage right here via the actual weapon. And then we have one that has like 2,900. So you can see that the range on these can be quite big as rolling the attack speed, rolling the damage, but you also have to factor in you want to have a great legendary power. Otherwise, some builds, they simply just cannot use the weapon because it requires for the build a very specific legendary power. So not only do you have to get it to get good rolls, you got to have a good legendary power on it as well. And to kind of show you guys the like numbers we're looking for Wind Force, we want about a 3.7 like for the number wise. That like if it doesn't roll like that high number, it's almost kind of thrown out in terms of like is it going to be a really good weapon for that slot? For like Wind Force, is this going to be a good Wind Force? If it rolls relatively low, it's probably not going to be the best. And we're going to try to see how hard is it to get a good ancient ethereal weapon. And for the Doomslinger, about a 2.8, 2.9 could be a good number for this one-hander. This one will always have reduced resource cost and cooldown, so that is great for that one. And then with the Bariza, we basically want like a 4,000 to be considered a relatively good roll for like the damage-wise. This one actually rolls really, really well. So let's go ahead and throw these back in over here, and then what we're going to do is just grab all of the items over here and just start identifying them. And again, if it doesn't roll those specific numbers, it's basically thrown out. So each one of these full inventories here, this is 10 items across 3 rows. So that's over here we have 30, and then obviously this is going to be where we get over 100 with 3 stash tabs full of it. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing for the video. So we're going to do all of this without like cutting, so this way people know that, you know, it's going to be more legitimate as far as it goes. But, okay, we got a 4.1k ballista. What we're going to do is any of the good weapons, we will, I guess we can put them back in like maybe another tab. That would be kind of a good thing to do. Okay, so we've got, in terms of good rolls, we've got one good Bariza. Again, like 2.8 is kind of like the number. If it doesn't even roll that, we don't even look. Actually, you know what? We can just salvage these because I haven't actually showed off what happens when you salvage these as well, which would be interesting. So this one rolled good over here, but its enemies below a certain threshold, multi-shot hits twice. This would be a good roll on the Bariza, so that's a good one. So not only does the damage numbers need to match up, but on top of that, you also need the legendary power to be effective, okay? So far, we've got what I would consider 1. Now, this is another multi-shot one. We've got 2. And this one, I'll consider, like, let's put the threshold. I mean, this legendary power is not too bad. We'll keep this one for now. We'll see later down the line if we can get better than, like, a 2.8 with it. This one's actually good, too. It rolled basically with Dawn. I'll consider that, like, pretty decent. Anything over 2.8 on that one. This rolls Impale. If you want to run a Shadow Impale, this is actually what would be considered a bad roll. So you can get an Ancient Ethereal weapon, and it'll still be good to use because the numbers are just so high. But to get a good roll on it, you want the legendary power. And this one, unfortunately, Impale, you're not running a dagger, so therefore you won't get the bonus of like the melee weapon with the shadows set. So sometimes, unfortunately, that's how it can roll. With Doomslinger, you'd probably want to run like a different build with like Hungering Arrows. So running the Cluster Arrow, there's just much better options in my personal opinion with this. So this one I won't consider good, although it did roll like the high number in terms of damage over there. And then another Bariza, okay, we got a 3.2, that's relatively low. So you can see all these numbers right here, and we got basically 4 out of 30 here, because each one of these is going to be 10 items. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so it's 30 items. So out of 30, we got 4 of them to be good, at least in this batch over here. Now, also, when you do salvage these, you will be getting Death's Breaths and a lot of Forgotten Souls as well. And you can also get Greater Rift Keystones off of this. I guess my cam is kind of blocking, so let me go and just move my face out of the way just for a second, because this is kind of necessary to see the things that we're getting. So we got 151 Death's Breath. It's kind of random what you get. You don't always get very consistent results. That one we got Keystones. So that's kind of cool that you can get other things with it. But I'll go ahead and throw my cam right back on, just because I just want to show you guys that you can get those with it. So far we've gotten 4 what I would consider good rolls. I'm going to actually move this over here now. And then we'll just start continuously identifying them. And we will see how many out of over 100. It's actually going to be, I believe each one of these is 35. So that's the amount that we have. So it's 35 times 3. Although we can only hold 30 each time that we identify them. All right, so a 3.8. There's a 3.4. So like 3.7 would be considered kind of good for, okay, here's another 4,000. For the Wind Force, like 3.7 is what are considered like good. Okay, this one's granting us a Absorb Shield. It's okay. I wouldn't say, like, the numbers are pretty good on it, but again, if we're looking for like how hard is it to get a good ethereal item, that's what we're looking for, right? And this way we can have kind of a good little reference here. So we got a decent one. Cluster Arrow, this one could be considered good, because you can technically run, there's Natalia's build, there's the Marauders build, there's also yeah, the build with the Sentries. So yeah, you know, I'll consider this one like good. We'll put another one in the good stash tab pile, and then yeah. And let's continue on over here. So another 2.8, not too bad. Impale, pretty much worthless, I would say, on this, because you can't dual wield by running a one-hander and a melee weapon. So unfortunately, that one's just like, it's almost essentially bricked. Like for the legendary power, it's a worthless legendary power, because if you're running the Impale set, yeah, you definitely want to run a melee weapon. So unfortunately, with that whole set right there, actually we can do it this way. This way you guys can visually see. So we got 4 on the first set of 30, and then we just got 1 on the next set. So again, these ratios are looking pretty rough, but you know, the best way to do this would be to do this hundreds and thousands of times, but I don't think anyone wants to watch me do 1,000 of these. So I think 100 will be a good ratio for numbers. So let's go ahead and do another batch. And this is going to be, oh, we're almost done with this video. That was actually a lot faster than I thought. It's because, like, if they don't meet the damage numbers, there's no point of checking the other stat, because we're looking for the best of the best, pretty much. Obviously, it might not be absolutely perfect. It might be like 1% down on damage. Rapid fire, okay, this one definitely could be used as well. I could see people using that. So this is our next, like, 30. We're doing these in increments of 30s, because that's how we can hold it. So that'll be kind of the way we kind of measure it out of like 30. How many are we getting that are actually good? Man, it is really difficult to get a high wind force. So I definitely have noticed this, but this is another Impale, so this one doesn't matter anyways. But yeah, we're looking for like a 3 point, maybe we should lower it to like a 3.6, because wind force, even though it says we lose a lot of damage, keep in mind wind force is a little bit different, because we get a bonus of 200% to all the archery skills. So for the wind force's case, we cannot roll certain abilities that would affect things that would be non-archery. So it has to be very specific for, let's say, multi-shot, because it has to be in this category for our build, if that makes sense. So it could be cluster arrow, multi-shot, but if it's rapid fire is not even in the archery department, so it'd be kind of a pointless roll on wind force, if that makes any sense. So that's why we're using all of these measurements to really go ahead and, yeah, the wind force looks like it's going to be a really tough thing to roll. This one's another Impale, so that one doesn't matter at all. Okay, there we go. We finally got a good wind force, potentially. This one rolled with Hungering Arrow. So this is where it gets a little interesting. So it's still considered a bad roll. Even though Hungering Arrow, yes, this ability is good, you're always going to have a quiver for the most part anyways, if you're running this build. And you lose out on that archery skill, because you're getting the damage from Hungering Arrow, not from the archery department, so it doesn't matter. So like strafe doesn't actually deal our damage, so this would be considered, even though the number finally rolled good on a wind force, it's not what we want. This one I'll consider like a mediocre one. Like it's still like it's still pretty good. It's just the attack, shield, absorb. It's a usable stat on every single build, but usually people prefer like some type of damage modifier versus a defensive one. But like I said before, like rapid fire, it's not in the archery department, so you lose out on potentially like this one even would give you us 100% to all demon hunter skills, or this one, the Barizza, would give us 150. So unfortunately, this batch, I would say was a pretty big fail, but we still have some extras to go ahead and check out. And the last batch will be under 30. But I would still consider the one with the shield pretty good. Like, for some builds, people like running the Fortress Ballista, which is the one that gives you the legendary power for that. But we still got, okay, this one's going to be, we got 10, about 15? Yeah, it looks like, okay, this is going to be 15. And this is our last batch over here of over 100, and we're going to see how many are actually really good. So a 3.9 Barizza isn't bad. This is still, I would consider this pretty good. I know I said 4,000 is kind of our, like, break point for, like, okay, it rolled absolutely amazing, but, you know what, that one's going to be close enough because it also rolled, well, Hungering Arrow actually rolled kind of, you know what, it almost rolled the lowest number possible. You know what, we're not going to consider it as, like, a good best in slot because the number isn't even 4K. Again, these numbers can matter because remember, keep in mind you cannot re-roll these items, so that's a huge thing to factor in. Yeah, Wind Force is incredibly difficult to roll to get like that huge number on, so that's going to be okay. And this one, I wouldn't even like. I mean, yeah, it rolled the Hungering Arrow, which is technically like a good ability, but again, one, you're going to already have that on your 9th series satchel, and you're always going to basically use that as your quiver. So in terms of our results, let me go ahead and get rid of this. So out of every 30, this one we got 0 out of 15. But keep in mind, your mileage may vary. Again, this is just like out of 100, so it's a good small test. So out of our first batch of 30, we got 4 good ones. And then our second batch, we got 1. And then on our third batch, we got 2. So the ratios, if we're looking at it via like about a little over 100, right? We've got 7 good ones. So maybe the mileage could vary, but it's looking about like 1 in like 7-ish, even a little bit less than that, because remember, it's a little bit over 100. And each stash tab there is 35. So there we go, guys. So just busting out the calculator real quick, if we do 35 times 3, because that's each stash tab is 35 items. That would be 105. So yeah, it's a little bit under 7%. So maybe like a 6% chance of you getting a good ancient ethereal item. But that's my little short test over here, so you guys can kind of see our end results. But let me know, guys, what you think of the ancient ethereal like ratios too, because they are quite rare, and for them to only have a very small chance. And keep in mind, this is just in the Demon Hunter. Obviously, each class will be different, and if you want to see the stats for all of the classes and like what they can roll, check the pinned comment because I'll have all of the legendary powers for every single class. But the Demon Hunter one is the one I mainly focused in on. So to give them some feedback, because it is the PTR right now, I think, for example, we should not have things that roll, like, for example, with Wind Force, we got 0 good Wind Forces here, because Wind Force is incredibly difficult to roll, because not only do you have to have it roll really good, which is very difficult, because Wind Force also guarantees attack, not attack, it rolls movement speed guaranteed every single time on it. Whereas the other ones might have like attack speed. Actually, we can go just grab a Wind Force really quick. So this is a 3.7. They always roll with attack speed and move speed on it, but like you have to have that damage number high and the flat number needs to be high. It's just very difficult. On top of that, it has to roll with the legendary power for a archery skill, because if it doesn't roll an archery skill, you're losing out that plus 200 damage to like your skills. It's useless. So I think that we should drop certain things like multi-shot, or certain things that would need to roll on Wind Force will always roll on Wind Force, because if you get a Wind Force that rolls with, again, something that's useless on it, or Impale should be removed from the weapon pool completely unless they add a ancient ethereal dagger for the Demon Hunter, because getting that is basically worthless because you need a melee weapon for the shadow set. So there's my feedback for them. You guys let me know your thoughts on if you guys want that, or do you guys like it that there can be bricked ones? I mean, some people like that because it makes it even harder to get some of these, and people like chase items. As in Diablo 3, a lot of good players within the first few like days or just 1 week within the live server, they get the best items instantly. But this looks like it could take a while, especially if you want to get a Wind Force. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap up the vid. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and if you want to see more videos on the ancient ethereal items, there'll be some pinned down below. But thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. I'm signing out. Peace.